I'll be talking about is a little background about why we need HANA, how it's useful, and how the future of look in the Mark SAP side. My voice is getting echoed.
Yeah.
I don't know whose system is giving that.
Venkat.
Okay. If you could either put a headphone on or probably switch off or lower the volume, I think it will be helpful for participants. Okay. I'm getting feedback that my voice is still clear. Venkat, do you have a headphone with you?
At this moment, I don't have a headphone.
Feedback that it's your feedback or the echo.
Venkat, just mute your mic.
Mic cannot radio. చూపెట్టలేదు ఇప్పుడు యాక్చువల్లీ డబుల్ క్లిక్ చేస్తే చూపెట్టాలి ఎన్ని చూపెట్టాలి మైక్ లో మ్యూట్ ఎట్లా చేస్తావు దాంట్లో
Shall I start? Okay. I don't hear the echo now.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I hear it. All right. Anyways, I think we have been waiting for a long time now, so let's get started. And as we go further, if you want me to repeat something, let me know. I will repeat it. And probably I'll be able to fix this internet issue or whatsoever in the next few classes. Okay. So HANA stands for High Performance Analysis. It's a perfect expansion for the abbreviation HANA. H stands for high performance, AN stands for analytical, and the last A stands for appliance. So that's how it's been framed. Okay, HANA. The need for HANA. Let's go to the vision. Okay. And this is the standard statement for why we need in-memory computing. Before we get into this slide, I wanted to give you a little background about why they thought of HANA. And does everyone have a database background? If you don't have a database background, let me know, and I can script my wordings accordingly. But I'm presuming that everyone has a database background, so I can use those terms. Okay. In regular RDBMS systems, all the data is stored in row format. Whenever we delete or insert into a we start storing data into a database system, everything is stored only in row-based element. So a memory is pre-allocated by the RDBMS system and getting written into those memory elements row-wise. when we had to do reporting, summarization based on a factual information across multiple time periods, we had to do it by utilizing the memory on the row basis. So for example, if a table contains, say, 10 fields, for you to store the data, I see that some are responding in the chat, but you can respond on the voice as well. You can tell yes or no in the voice. That will be much easier. It will be like more of an in-person conversation. Okay. Going back to the topic. So whenever we start storing data into an RDBMS system, for us to do a summarization across multiple records, we had to utilize a memory, inside the RDBMS in a larger amount because of the way we structure the tables. If a table contains 10 records, then the memory utilized to extract just one row of data will consume the memory that is occupied by all the 10 fields. That's how we can extract that particular data. So later on, they came to a new structure called, column-based database systems. For example, there is a database called Vertica. What Vertica does is that it stores data only on the column-based. So if you create a table with, say, 5 columns, it will allocate memory based on the columns, not on the row side. Just like, for example, row-based RDBMS systems or Oracle. Row-based RDBMS systems such as Oracle or SQL Server has that limitation of storing the data by utilizing the entire row. Vertica, for example, utilizes only the column-based structure, so you can only allocate a specific or a small footprint of memory within its RDBM. And when we have to extract data from such a kind of an RDBMS system, it do compression and it can also retrieve data in a faster way because it's going to subset of the whole memory address range. From that, they came up with this new system called as Hana. Hana is a combination of both row as well as column-based RDBMS system. Imagine to be a mixture of Oracle, SQL Server, and other databases such as Vertica, so forth. How is this useful in real time is because of the way we segment these kind of data into a specific subset within the in-memory computing systems. Okay. What are the now on these RDBMS systems? In the current RDBMS system, whenever we have to extract data, okay, whenever we have to extract data like that to utilize the whole row-based structure in order to research data. You have an option of storing such a data whenever you create a table. You can either choose to have a column-based table or a row-based table. What are the instances where you will use column-based table? Whenever you start creating a data warehouse solution, or whenever you start to create a schema which you will utilize for, in simple terms, reporting. Whenever you do that, or whenever you have to create some summarization, you will go for vertical-based database systems. So you will then have to utilize your column-based table structure. Whenever you create a table within HANA, you will be given an option either to choose one of these methods, either row-based or column-based. Initially, HANA was created purely for reporting purpose, keeping that in mind. Later on, the strategy for HANA moved from being just a reporting database to a more secure, where they wanted to enhance that capability across systems. For example, in SAP, all the data within SAP is somehow stored in the backend database, either in Oracle or in SQL Server. What they wanted to do is they wanted to use HANA for both SAP ECC6 or R3 systems, which are more of an operational systems, and also they wanted to use for reporting analytical systems such as BW, or for any custom data warehouse solutions by using Graph Kimball or Bill-Inman method. So they wanted to scope now across these two systems. So they came up with this combination of both row and column based, where for ECC6 they can utilize a row based structure where you wanted to store only a limited subset of data for modification, where the row based structure will work perfectly fine. Because in operational systems, even if you have thousands and millions of records, you will still be accessing only a small subset of data whenever a transaction happens. For such kind of systems, row-based system will be perfect, because it also gives you the ability to country and access within the multiple tables by referential constraints and by using normalization techniques like first normal form, second, third normal form, etc. So in those structures, row-based approach is much more easy, and it's the efficient method. So they wanted to utilize all the row-based tables for operational systems such as ECC6 and any other external applications which are used for day-to-day operations. For reporting purposes, which involves summarization and utilizing huge amounts of data to pre-process before it can be thrown into the front-end APIs, they wanted to utilize column-based structure. So for BW or data warehouse solution, they wanted to utilize the same HANA database, but have them structured into column-based structures. So that is where HANA is finding its marketplace in current trend. There are lots of companies that are currently using HANA, and some companies are even developing new applications based on HANA. For example, Adobe, they are coming up with Adobe Insight application, which is also based on top of HANA. So there are other different types of companies working on producing applications based on HANA database, which can also be utilized for real-time processing scenarios. Okay, now going back to this particular slide, the increasing data volumes, calculation speed involved with computing across multiple records, and when we start analyzing data, we won't be analyzing from a single source. We will gather data from multiple sources. So we will put all data into a common schema or common structure before we analyze it. So the amount of data that we have to process based upon multiple disparate systems have to be done in a much faster way for the user to make decisions in more of a real-time basis, if not real-time, near real-time. So with the current techniques that are available, not considering HANA, this kind of systems are very hard to use. There are other alternatives which are used for unstructured data such as Hadoop, etc., but for much that is not scope in in-memory computing before HANA or before Oracle Fusion, etc. So in this particular domain, HANA wanted to focus its attention towards having a much more faster processing by utilizing the combination of both the row-based and column-based structures within days. Okay, up until now, do you have any questions? No? Okay. So is this all these terms that I'm talking about, is this making sense to you, or is this all like gibberish? I wanted to get a proceed further. Rajneesh? Okay. How about Soundarya and Venkat? Are you all okay with what's happening, or do you want to change pace or change the method? Okay, I'll I'll take silence as you're okay. All right. Is a future state, or what is the future scope of HANA? What they wanted to do with HANA is that they wanted to implement more of a real-time reporting strategy with multiple applications and multiple systems as such. They wanted to position HANA in a way where it can be used for both operational as well as reporting purposes. And they are bridging technologies and processes that can establish real-time from extracting data from ECC6 and delivering that to people. There are replication methods that are taken by using SLT, which is System Landscape Transformation. They also emphasize on utilizing external ETL tools such as Business Objects Data Services to accomplish gathering and loading data into HANA. So there are different techniques that's been recommended in order to pop in HANA. And HANA by itself can do a lot of things that a traditional reporting engine can do. They can summarize data, they can store it in email, they can themselves create reports even before they can be visualized using an external reporting tool. For example, when you store data into HANA, the data can be analyzed on top of those HANA tables itself. You can create bots, you can create reports on top of the data stored within those tables. Just imagine that are you all familiar with Oracle and SQL Server? Okay.
I have a little bit exposure, not much of
okay. Okay, so say you you familiar with tables, inserting records, right? So let's say you have an employee table where you start storing employee data, employee name, ID, and demographics information such as which state that employee is from, city, etc. Imagine after you store all this data, like 10, 20 records, you want to now you want to visualize how many people are residing in a particular, within 200 employees. You want to just get a count, you get a feel of how many employees are residing in a particular state. With just that particular Oracle tool, yeah, you can establish such a thing. What you need to do is you need to like statement where you do a count star off and then you do a group data and you get it in form of a tabular column. You can then utilize an external tool to create a graph to visualize in an easy method, right? With HANA, once you store data, HANA gives you the ability to easily visualize those data. What you can do is you can simply click on that, can then you have visualize data based upon summarized. As soon as you start storing data, the way you declared that table, HANA will start doing summarization based upon the key fields that you define. So whenever you want to visualize all these different types of combinations and permutations for a particular data set, HANA already has those inbuilt and computed. So whenever you want, as soon as you store data, HANA will give you a result, a summary result of how many people are residing in a state, how many of those are males and females, and you can do various types of analysis just within HANA. You don't even have to get into an external reporting tool in order to do such kind of activities. So it is little, one level higher than a traditional RDBMS system. How are they able to achieve these kind of workings within HANA? In order for them to create all these high-end computing capabilities for an RDBMS, they also need to have a good skeleton or infrastructure in the backend. So what they had to first create a hardware system that can host huge amount of data, should have processing power that can compute and calculate all these different types of information, and also produce fast data transfer between disk and memory in case if the memory is not enough. So they have to build a very rigid hardware system, right? According to HANA's methodology, all the data that you store in HANA are residing in its memory initially. Whenever you are doing computation or you're doing different types of calculation within HANA's memory, by memory I am literally referring it to the RAM, random access memory. It is not stored in disk, rather it is all within the hardware system. So what SAP did was SAP worked with different vendors, hardware vendors, IBM, HP, Fuji. So they worked with different hardware vendors, and they came up with a system which hosts huge amounts of memory, RAM. Right now from the slide you see that the current limitation is 2 terabyte. 2 of RAM, not disk. So currently in any traditional server we will be talking about in GB. We'll say 32 GB of memory or 64 GB of memory. Imagine we are having 2 terabytes of GB in the server. That's the hardware that HANA is holding on. Okay, so what they did was they worked with the different hardware vendors in order to come up with this hardware, this server. So whenever you have to install HANA appliance, the reason why they call appliance is because it is not a software. Software is just a separate component that can be installed on any hardware. The term appliance is used when it comes bundled together. When you start using the hardware proprietary or a combination of hardware and software together, then they call it as an appliance. So whenever you have to use HANA or you want to install HANA installed only by licensed hardware. That is a very key thing that you need to know. Although you may have some permission when the client, and when you get the SAP ID and thence, you will have access to download. But if you have to install the software yourself, HANA support will not help you, or they will not support, the SAP will not. HANA is supported by SAP as long as HANA is installed by a authorized in the system. It is tightly integrated with the hardware system. Okay, so this is another key that you need to know. These data that you store in RAM within the HANA appliance, the data computed in RAM until the system shuts down, or there is an external trigger given to in order to store the data from RAM in disk. As in any HANA is still a regular server where permanent storage is still disk, because like I said, storing all the data in its RAM. If go off, so what happens to the data that's stored in RAM? Thing gets vanished, right? So but it's a logic built within HANA that will try to copy every RAM into disk before the system shuts down. Anything can happen, and give sufficient backup in order to do the whole operation. So ultimately, all the is stored in disk, but when it boots up, the data that you have figured to be present in the RAM, which is in its in-memory, will get from the disk into memory option. All the data will then be stored only in its memory. Okay, and internally within RAM, there is also implemented. We have that are 10 to 20 times than its normal storage can. So you can now store for example, if it's 2 terabytes in its memory, terabyte is its limitation, but it doesn't mean that you can only store 2 terabytes of raw data. When you start storing data, so you even store more than 2 terabytes of data, but it will compressed to use memory size. That will be helpful when it to give data into multiple systems or reporting systems. So HANA is a complex that has multiple software applications working with the hardware, and that's how they call it an appliance. So here's a picture of HANA is getting. So in practical usage, with any or coding or near system, they will utilize HANA and an ETL tool called BODS. Here with this tool called BODS. Are you familiar with the ETL tool called Business Object Services? Are you familiar with? Okay. So, in order to get data from multiple systems and load it into HANA, BODS is whenever you have a connection to SAP system, if you want to utilize the metadata, which is the table information and structure within the data services data store, it can easily be imported into HANA. So you can then transfer data one to one. Let's say you have a material if you have those tables structures within HANA, you can simply connect to the data services BODS from HANA and import the whole metadata. And you can tables that you see within particular data or SAP data store, and then you can simply string the items. Okay. So here you see that SW is the proprietary warehouse system from SAP, which can be in HANA using as its source. use the transport methods and also the other within the to push the ECC into BW systems to create info cubes. Other external systems such as reporting elements, BI 4.0 utilize different connection systems. They can use JDBs, they use BICS connection, which is business intelligence intelligence connection system. Business intelligence. Forgot what CS is. Okay, that is a connection name that is created newly in Business Objects 4. Consumer services, yes, it is called business intelligence consumer services, which is used by Business Objects 4.0 application in order to retrieve data from BEX queries that are created in BW. When BW is hosted on top of HANA, you can easily retrieve all the info cubes themselves contain all the multidimensional analysis data, and when it's hosted on HANA, the analysis part is very faster because of all the compression that implemented. The amount of network traffic that involved between the database and the reporting tool itself is very low. And this is what is an overview of HANA database application. So you have the basic store, which is the row and column store, like I mentioned earlier. I want to compare that to a traditional database in the row store here, which is at the bottom left, which is similar to Oracle SQL Server. Column store is similar to Vertica. So physical execution plan here, which means if you use Oracle's term, there is a term, if you are familiar with Oracle, the execution plan is something that is computed within the database, which will look out for the efficient way to retrieve data. It is more like a program created by the RDBMS system. So that is a physical execution. On top of that, you have distributed execution engine. The execution engine is mainly utilized in order to find out within multiple paths to a particular memory space, which is the efficient memory space, because itself can store in a replicated method in order to improve retrieval. So whichever is the best way to fetch the data quickly in order to tell the database engine which be the most efficient way, not the actual memory allocation extra or address space. The highest level will be the parsing level, where it will all the applications, the coding logic into native HANA-based. So external tool, either store reports or even intelligence within business objects, have been passed by those systems, will then be converted into a native code and can be consumed by the HANA application into the other execution plans, like you see in the HANA by itself contains a native SQL terminology similar to any other ANSI standard SQL. You can also use multi-dimensional analysis, use MDX queries. This screenshot of how data. This is if someone is not familiar with data designer will look. All these small boxes are the tables. HANA, according to data services, will to any database. Connecting to HANA is similar to connecting to Oracle according to data services. The only requirement between those, the connecting to HANA and any other RDBMS system is data service install HANA client along with the data services into starting HANA data store. So this is a future. This is a old, but this is the with only the analysis part. But later on, they wanted to position the HANA database for both as well as BW systems. So now they have achieved that stage. They are now promoting HANA to be the backend database for both ECC system as well as the reporting systems such as BW or traditional data warehouse. This application appliance, sorry, since it's an appliance, what you have to do is for every time there is a new service pack or a patch release, you have to connect to the intranet and get connected to the SAP website in order to patch and then install. If there is a defect, there is an upgrade version available, you will always have to connect to the internet, get it online from SAP and do the upgrade or patch installation. It's a part of the maintenance work that is involved with HANA. Jump onto the studio. Okay. So studio is front-end GUI that is created for both data modeling as well as databases, assigning now user rights, creating users, etc. Everything is done by utilizing the HANA information modeler. There is a view that is utilized for each of the activities. They call it, hold on one second, let me see if they have that. No. So different perspectives with by using an administrator perspective do database monitor, do database modeling. So we do certain tasks accordingly. That is meant to be more streamlined with respect to the roles and responsibilities each one have within the HANA implementation project. There are different types of modeling capabilities or modeling steps that you need to do if you can utilize the data for external consumption by the reporting tools, because HANA is a database by itself meant to achieve something, is meant to enhance a certain aspect of a system or a reporting system. If you install as a backend database for an operational system, you should notice efficiency increased. I can give you an example of, if you take a traditional ECC implementation, whenever the ECC system production is in production database, most of the activities such as extraction of data or reporting or operational reports will not be done during the working hours, because if you have to do that, then the performance of this particular database or the application is ECC systems will go down. With HANA, once you have the HANA invented as a backend database, you can do all the coding. You can also do operational analysis, which is a real-time analysis, because you are doing on top of the operational system without any impact to the normal business users of ECC. So that will be a measuring point where you can analyze, feel the difference between a traditional database and a HANA database. Similarly, for the analytical purposes, when you have a business objects web intelligence report, which has to give you of millions of records for any detailed report, or any has been retrieved that has ECC system or NO systems, then the time taken for that report to complete its run negligible, or it should be seamless, as if you're looking at a data that is pre-computed. That will be the case for even the ad hoc reporting. So HANA is meant to enhance your performance, both in operational as well as in analytical side. Here you see different names like attribute view, analytical view, calculation, etc. So each of these have a particular purpose. Attribute view is made a definition for the type of data that you are storing. I'm not going to go much deeper into each of these views because it's a topic on its own, but these are simply the names that are utilized by HANA in order to define the different processes involved before you complete your system configuration and start using it. So if you have to store data, you have to model it in a way that you can be easily segmented within the system that can store data and retrieve data efficiently. Remember, it has to store also data efficiently, and retrieval should also be efficient. So in order to do that, it has its standard set of instructions that you need to follow in order to create those database objects. And these are the different steps that you need to follow, which are classified into different views. So you have attribute view that is meant to define, like the name suggests, a particular attribute of a data element. Analytical view is the next step where you can do a creation of a cube or a multidimensional analysis object that you can use for analysis. This may not be useful when doing an operational system on top, but it is very useful when you do analysis on top of the data stored. The right side, you see that NDO systems and our database servers that are created. Catalog is the literal by literal the information, the different objects within the database system, users, roles, etc. DMS systems, users and roles. And see, these are the schemas or the sys systems repo. These are all the standard schemas that are getting installed. HANA database, or you configure a new database within the HANA system, and further create multiple schemas for different projects. And in schemas, you will have all the objects like tables, views, etc. This is a screenshot of how you configure into HANA before you start using the information mod HANA Studio. You have to. This is a screenshot that gives you how it's configured. So the reports that are not created by external that you can create just on top of the data you have in HANA from the HANA Studio itself. So most of your analysis can easily be done even before you connect an external reporting tool to HANA base. Okay, we have here is the different methods by which the external reporting tools, especially the SAP reporting tools, can connect in a database. The Crystal reports utilizes, so there are different connection techniques. Even for Oracle, you can connect to Oracle database using JDBC, ODBC, or Oracle Client, which is its native connection technique. And you have different connection techniques that you can connect to, and these I hope that you must have heard this term called universe. Universe is nothing but a schematic layer created by the business outputting tool that has all the metadata about tables in data source system. In some cases, you can create universe on top of the info cubes, which is a product of the multidimensional analysis cube in BW or SSAS, etc. Okay, up until now, if you have any questions, you can ask me, and we can have a conversation about any of the questions, or if you have any clarification that you want me to clarify on, let me know.
Hi. We are going to have the system access, right, with the data?
Yes. The first step itself, we will see how we can load data by utilizing both data services and also by utilizing a simple flat file. So both ways, I think this particular session is just meant to give an idea about what HANA is. But yes, system access will be there, and data load can be done, both interactively, or it can also be loaded. There are other schemas that are readily available which can be loaded, just like eFashion for business objects. There is similar schema that is available for HANA, and we can preload data. But that is not a right way to go, because you need to know how to load data into HANA. If data is already loaded, then there is nothing for you to do, right? So I think it should be done manually if you want to understand how to load it to HANA.
One more question. The part of the training involves modeling, right? Data modeling. I was curious.
Yes.
Are we going to model the SAP data, or are we going to model even the external data? Like since HANA handles both SAP and non-SAP data, can we have an example of non-SAP data also, not just SAP data modeling?
Yes, data modeling is a common feature, common concept. Data modeling is done as per the requirement. For example, in a data warehouse, we have dimensions and facts, right? If external data other than SAP's data has similar structure, like dimensional attributes and factual, we can create our own model in order to create a model based upon those elements. And in case if they common attributes and common factual information similar to SAP, we can combine the data and store it into a single warehouse. So that way we can do a combination of both SAP and non-SAP data. Since you are familiar with BODS, if I refer to, let's say, you have different data stores, one for SAP data store, one for non-SAP data store, Oracle or SQL. Your target data store can still be a same HANA data store, which has source from both SAP as well as non-SAP data stores. So that is not a big deal. You can do a model which can be common to both SAP and non-SAP. If you have to remember that SAP is an operational system, and operational systems are highly normalized systems. All the reporting systems are highly denormalized systems. So you have to come up with a structure which is more denormalized. in the target data model.
Okay.
Any question?
No.
Okay. Okay, fine. If you these are all these slides I sketched first. If I start talking about these, this will run for hours, and this is not the intention for today. We can talk about this in future session. But today this is just to tell a little background about HANA, how it came into the market history and how it is going to be positioned. Right now there are lots of companies that are starting to use HANA, and I think they are planning on rolling this out in a very large market space with the help of cloud systems. So HANA as an appliance, earlier it was supposed to be hosted in a data center where only those, like I said, only those licensed or recommended hardware vendors can come and establish that appliance. Now with cloud systems, you can like pay per use. So now they are trying to implement in cloud system. So I think it is going to be the next big thing with regards to SAP's softwares. All right then. So if you don't have any other question, I think we are done.
Okay. Thank you.
And Rajneesh, what happened to the other person who joined along with you?
Actually, he's on a vacation. He's traveling, so I'm not sure where he is and whether he is able to connect properly. So.
Okay. All right, fine. So I think I'm going to end this session now, and then we can all get in touch with Shravanti.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.